inspired. Welcome to this special edition of West Coast Jazz. I'm your guest host, Richard A., and we have the founders of West Coast Jazz here. We're going to get in some insights into them. The Honorable Vaughn Norberg. Vaughn, welcome to your own show.
Thank you very much.
And Cher Dial. Cher, great to see you.
You too. Thank you for having us.
Well,
it's always a pleasure.
Ladies first. Cher, how did you meet Vaughn Norberg?
Well, it was just a coincidence. We had a mutual friend that Vaughn was thinking about working with. And then, I don't know, I think you needed a stand-in or sit-in for some kind of conversation. And we just started talking, and he's like, well, how would you like to be a co-host of the show? And I'm like, absolutely. Great. And that was about, 6 years ago, I think.
Yep.
Something like that. So we've been doing that, and, of course, taping here at CCX Studio. And we just, I love it because Vaughn is really an aficionado on jazz, and I'm not so much. So I learned from him a lot, and that's what I love about the show too, is because he teaches the audience about different instruments and different, types of jazz, and I really, enjoy everything. It's great. It's very educational.
Let's go a little further back. Were you? What was the kind of music you listened to as a teenager, and then as you grew older, how did you get involved in the music business?
Yeah, well, I always listened to radio, and I had gotten a position at a station in Chicago. It was a country station. And then that evolved to me moving down to Nashville, where I got a job as working for Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton?
Right. So I worked for her for years and her sister. And then it just evolved, and when I moved here, I got a position at KFAI Radio, and they had asked me if I could do some interviews, and I had never done an interview before, but I interviewed Dolly's sister, Stella, and then they gave me a position there, so I was on weekly and doing a bunch of segments there, and then that evolved to my own podcast, the Cher Dial Show, which I do now, and I interview entertainers and musicians from all over the world. And I also work at Jazz 88, KBEM, right, which is great because when I'm there, I recognize so many artists, and I get to listen to jazz music all day long when I'm working there, and so it's really insightful for me. So,
well, it's been very insightful for the past year because we've had the women of jazz, the men of jazz, and all sorts of different flavors of jazz. So it's amazing.
I know.
The world of jazz.
Exactly. So it's great. And like I said, I just love working with you and with Vaughn, and it's just a great experience. And I think a lot of people enjoy it of all ages. And we do the gamut of from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and now. And right so people can, it's not like we just do one, certain, decade. We do all decades. And we like to introduce newer people to our jazz show also.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, Vaughn, a little background. I believe your father was involved with jazz.
Well, yes, it started out with my father. He was in the Air Force and played for Glenn Miller. And when he mustered out of the Air Force, he came back to Los Angeles area, where he picked up with the Vaughn Monroe Orchestra. And hence my name, Vaughn, as he made Vaughn Monroe my godfather.
All right.
So I've been told when I was 3-4 years old, I would be bouncing on the knee of Vaughn Monroe. They would be jamming at our house with my dad, who played drums. Oh. And then Count Basie came in. Anybody in the Los Angeles area would stop by, and my dad knew them all.
Met them all and worked with them all, I suppose.
Met them all, worked with them all. And so really that was my introduction to jazz. It started out with big band jazz that eventually went to bebop. If you've ever seen the Glenn Miller Story, the movie, and at intermission, some of the instruments would get up and they say, this old standard music is fine, pays the bills, but I got a inkling here that maybe the audience would like something a little more bouncy. So they started out bebop, and then that led to progressive jazz, and now we're getting into, the John Coltrane era, Miles Davis, Ramsey Lewis, you go on and on and on, and all of these artists. And that's sort of when I picked up the clarinet when I was in, I believe, third grade, a couple of years earlier than fifth grade, and then went all the way up through to high school, and I switched over to the tenor saxophone. I loved the sound in orchestra, and that got me into the jazz band. And there I did two things. I did the tenor sax and then the baritone sax.
Now, what age are we talking when you got
I
into
would
that?
say probably high school would be 15, 16.
Okay.
The early years, and then the band instructor asked me if I'd like to be in the marching band, and I didn't know because marching band music wasn't in my blood. And he said, well, we need somebody to carry the baritone sax, and none of the gals here want to switch from alto or tenor to carry that. And I still hem and hawed. And then he said, well, you get out of class early, you get to go to all the football games for free on the bus with the band geeks.
All right.
I'm in, sold, sign me up. So I did that, and then I went on to college where I actually met Gerald Wilson, one of my favorite orchestrators, writers, arrangers, John Coltrane, Miles Davis. They would go up and down the West Coast, and that's why the name West Coast Jazz. And teach us, and I just loved it, and I've loved it ever since. So, starting out in third grade till I'm older now.
Okay. Now, did you make a living as a sax player, or you were in different bands, or what was? Because I imagine that it was kind of an up and down career for you. I mean,
You're
like,
right.
Like all bands, I mean, there's very few. You hear about the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and rock and roll, but there's about 1,000, 10,000 other rock and roll bands that never, made the big time you never heard of.
I was in and out of what they call garage bands in those days, and we did make some money. I mean, we would get invited to balls and banquets, and I even remembered playing for a deaf community. Don't know how that worked out. But
right.
somehow they knew the beat. They got into the
Yeah.
beat. And so, no, I never made a professional money per se, but I just love jazz. And one of the reasons that I'm doing this show, and as Cher mentioned it briefly, is to educate other people. When the big bands died out, and then the progressive jazz people started dying out, and I saw Japan and Europe start buying up all of our music from the 50s, 60s in jazz. Mm-hmm. I said, how do we bring jazz back to the United States? The good jazz. And when I moved here to Minnesota, they had one jazz club downtown. I think it was called The Loft. Where I met Earl Gardner and some of the earlier musicians. And as of today, we have 7 well-known jazz clubs in the area. So I don't know if I've inspired.
Yeah, you got to take some credit for it.
All
Yeah,
right.
really.
Well, as Cher mentioned earlier, we met at this fellow, I think his name was Robert, and I was going to launch my show, and Cher came in on another matter. And I heard her talking, and I went, wow, what a radio
so nice.
voice. I got to have her.
Absolutely.
And then I said, well, what kind of music do you like? Jazz, she said. What's that?
Yeah, really.
But the beautiful thing is, what did they call that? Opposites attract.
Yeah.
And
it's great.
we've clicked ever since. And like she said, she's learned a lot about jazz. Now she's on a jazz station.
I know, and that's the crazy part because, like, I do a lot of, I'm on the air doing some stuff, but I go through the music library, and I mean, just all the names now I recognize that I never knew before from Vaughn, you know, and like I said, I get to listen to jazz all day long now, and it's just so enlightening, you know, and they play so much different stuff. So it's really, you know, I think there's a new generation coming up listening to jazz. I really believe that, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's one of the things that we're proud of doing is we're educating all the way from the 5th grade, you know, take an instrument or choir. You know, we have, like you said, we featured men of jazz and women of jazz, and we take it all the way up through high school. We've invited a high schooler on the show. We've had a older fellow that came from bluegrass. He was on, which kind of leaned over into jazz. And then
You had that one gentleman that grew up with Bob Dylan.
Yes.
Yeah.
University of Minnesota. You hung
Right.
around with him for a...
Isn't that funny?
And that's the other thing is we have a big audience from the university kids that are getting into jazz, and they're picking up the old standards and learning from that, and who knows where they'll take it. But the one thing I was telling Cher is that I really am excited about some of the younger generations. Even look at Michael Bublé. Okay, I mean, everybody says, oh, when we lost Frank Sinatra, we lost that jazz. Well, no. We have other artists who aren't, he's well known, but we also, that Chris Steiger from Germany. We have new artists coming out, female as like. What was her name?
Samara Jane, or Samara Joy.
Samara Joy, who we are going to introduce on our show.
Yeah.
So some of the newer artists we're introducing that bring about that type of jazz. And when I talk about type of jazz, we are into the big band, progressive jazz, modern jazz, if you will. But we don't do Dixieland, even though I have to admit that our next show we're going to be doing is going to end with Louis Armstrong.
Right.
What a Wonderful Day. And
Right
why not? I mean, he's a legend in jazz, and we do try to cross over genres. And I think the education of the newcomers excites me the most.
Right.
Good. That's good. Well,
Definitely.
Cher, we just touched on a few things, but I'm sure our audience would like to hear a few more stories. I mean, Dolly Parton, it doesn't get
I mean,
any
that
bigger
is
than
crazy.
that.
I know. I mean, I can't
Could
even
you tell
believe
us
it
a little
myself.
story about what it was like working for her?
Well, she is just like she is on TV. You know, she's
Right.
just that personality. But like when she would come in the office, she was always dressed as Dolly. I mean, she was always decked out.
yeah.
She was never out of, you know, the
Yep.
Dolly mode. And just as, you know, and like I said, I worked, you know, mostly traveling the world actually with her sister. And so, you know, I heard a lot of stories, and the stories you hear about them growing up with nothing and all in one little house and everything
yeah.
is all true.
No plumbing, probably. and-
No, nothing. And I mean, what do we want to say? Just the pure genius of Dolly and her songwriting talent is just like, it's just unbelievable. You
and
know?
there's a lot of crossover too. I mean, I'm sure she met a lot of the great jazz
Oh,
guys,
yeah.
like Louis Armstrong. I mean,
Definitely.
all these people cross paths and stuff. I'm sure that she was influenced a little bit, but I mean, what a personality, what a star she's been for
Unbelievable.
forever.
She's just like she's just obviously like an icon. And then I also worked for Tanya Tucker,
Oh,
and I
wow.
worked with her for years too. And she's another, you know, country icon in my eyes. You know, Delta Dawn, and I mean, who doesn't know that song from when you were, you know, growing up? And I mean, they're just as nice as can be. You know, they couldn't be nicer. And I love to hear stories about these artists that are really nice in person too.
Well, not to
You know?
yeah, not to throw any damp water on this, but I imagine some of the men that you came across in the jazz world. It's pretty a rough crowd sometimes. I mean, you hear stories about drugs and the women, and
It's a rough area. It's cleaned up quite a bit since the old days. I remember my father telling me stories, even with Glenn Miller, and every time they had intermission break, which turned out to be a song, they go outside the studios and they would drink and smoke. And
Yeah.
he got that from the military. Actually, it was the Red Cross that used to send over packages of cigarettes, and we didn't know enough about smoking and drinking in those days. But and then if you go back and watch the Lady Sings the Blues, the Billie Holiday movie, and she got into cocaine with her pianist, that's kind of how I'd say 70% of the jazz musicians grew up, both male, female, and instrumentalists, and they were addicted. And some people tell me, well, they were better improvisers playing or singing when they were on drugs. In fact, with Billie Holiday, it got to the point where she couldn't go back on stage without drugs.
Wow.
And fortunately, I've seen a lot of that go away.
Great, yeah. Cleaned it up. Well, it's education too, and people see unfortunately, we lost a lot of even like rock and rollers. They didn't get past 27 years old. Jimi Hendrix, Brian Jones, and now Amy Winehouse. What a talent she was.
Yeah, she really was.
We lost her way too young.
Uh-huh. Definitely.
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
People like that.
Too many people, artists, we've lost to drugs and whatnot. And then if you look today's world with meth and
fentanyl
and all of that,
crazy.
It's kind of coming back again.
It's too bad because there's some bad. Stay off those street drugs; those are bad for you.
Oh yeah, don't go into the drugs. I mean, once you get in and you get hooked. I remember seeing a movie. I think it was called The Insider. And the main actor worked for the tobacco industry, and he was a whistleblower and told society and the news about how they were doping cigarettes to get kids hooked. And we see a lot of that today. But, getting back off of drugs and onto the more of the jazz scene, I just am excited about that part of it, that there's younger people coming up that are I think it's Generation Z. Is that the current one?
Oh yeah,
sounds about right.
They had a big deal about New Year's Eve that 30% of Generation Z was not going to drink on New Year's Eve.
Oh really?
Excellent.
Yeah.
That now even the drinking is why.
Yeah. Exactly, but yeah, it's crazy. I know I was going back to like when I was down in Nashville. It's so weird because like I look back. I mean, now I can appreciate all this, what I'm doing. But when I was doing all those jobs back then, I didn't even. I was just young and carefree, and I didn't really. It was just a job to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, and I dated Buck Owens' drummer, the original Buckaroo. I mean, that's a huge deal,
Oh, yeah, right.
And like, if I were to ask Willie today, I'd be like, "Well, what did you do with those suits that Buck made you wear?" Because they had to wear all those suits and everything. And so it's like, now when I'm, older and I'm doing this, I can take everything in with, Vaughn and, ask questions and try to learn, whereas, like I said, when I was younger and doing all those cool jobs, it was just like, oh, well, whatever. You know what I mean? It's crazy how you look back on your life and go, what the heck was I thinking, So it's great to get to be, like I said, doing this jazz show because it's turning me onto a genre that I wasn't really, familiar with. So I love that.
Well, once again, we want to encourage people. We work out of the studio in here in Brooklyn Park of CCX Media. This end is CCX Create. And this is for the public. And when you come down here, if you have an idea, what you do is volunteer, help like on this show, West Coast Jazz, and there's many opportunities to learn how to run the equipment and et cetera. But if you have an idea, you come down here, get your feet wet on a show like this, and then we'll help you get your show on the air. That's what
nice.
community cable access TV is all about. And if we don't take advantage of this studio, we'll lose it, because there's been cutbacks. These big corporations, this is like a little sideshow to them. But no, it's important for us community people to get involved and use this $1 million facility.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
very
we'll
much
lose
so.
it. We don't want to lose it.
Yeah, we
Oh,
are
I-
definitely grateful.
This is great to provide that, and like we said earlier, one of the things that we're proud of is education, and coming down and learning how to do a podcast, learn the equipment, learn the videotape. If you're inspiring to get in the music business at any point, any genre, come on down, look up CCX Create.
And it's all free. It's all free.
Well, you just have to live in the area, though.
Right,
You want to tell them what the cities
Well,
are?
there's 9 cities involved, all the way from Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, New Hope, Crystal, Robbinsdale, all these northern suburbs. And we're also expanded to Southwest Community Television. And they serve the southern suburbs of Edina, Minnetonka, Eden Prairie, etc., Richfield. And great opportunity to get your voice and ideas out there. And we also are on the internet, and we also expanding on other social medias as the artificial intelligence comes on, and we'll take advantage of
Unbelievable,
that.
yeah.
And that's just around the corner. So yeah, this is the opportunity to get in on the ground floor. If you ever had any inkling to get into broadcasting or television, just come on down here. You don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and go to NYU.
Right.
Maybe come down here and see if this is what interests you. See if this is what you might want to make a living on. If it doesn't work out, you're not out any money. It's
Right.
you're just having fun. And who knows where different forks in the road are going to come when you're like 18, 19, 20 years old, when opportunities like artificial intelligence take off, and who knows where that's going to lead. But get your feet wet, get down here and have fun. It's all about having fun, right?
Oh,
Fun?
yeah, totally fun.
Sure, why don't you tell them about our website in case they
Right.
don't live in the area?
That's what I was just going to
Oh.
do. Yeah, exactly. See, we read each other's
know,
mind
I
That's
know.
right.
all the time. So our website is jazzwithvaughn.com. And you can get all our previous shows. You can ask us a question. You can fill in a form if you want to be a guest on the show. And we really appreciate the feedback and all the support that we have.
And we have about 12 shows already on the website.
Right.
So they can go all the way back to the beginning if they'd like, and see those. You can do it on your laptop, your phone, whatever other
Sure.
device you have, and enjoy and get a taste for what the show is like. In case one is this interview, and then you may want to look at the shows that we put on so far. One of the things that we didn't mention on the educational piece, and we've done this on many of our shows, we talked about the different instruments. I think you did bring that up. And we talk about why there's differences, everything from mutes on trumpets and cornets to clarinets versus soprano sax, tenor sax, and even with the singers, the different types of styles.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
You go from a Diana Washington to a Phoebe Snow to a Sarah Vaughan.
Right.
And same with the men, and we have scat singers. So the education piece we really enjoy, and Cher is a wonderful researcher. In fact, that's a spot. If you're not playing an instrument and you don't sing, but you like what we're doing, come on our show and we'll teach you to be a researcher.
Yes.
In fact, we did have a researcher on here.
You did a great job.
Yeah, I did a great job. And you're going to get a coffee cup. I don't have one right here.
Right.
A West
Right
Coast.
on.
You've got the coffee
Yeah, I do
cup.
have a copy. Well, right now let's give people a little taste of because I've been putting together highlight shows. We've been in kind of a transition period. We got a couple new personnel coming on that we're training, and this past few months I've been trying to get some highlight shows out. as we take this show into year 2, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a short break. I'm your host, Richard A. Once again, this is West Coast Jazz. Special guest, the founding father and lady of jazz right here at
That's
CCS
right,
Create.
my new title.
A new title.
That's right.
And the jazz man,
Yeah, exactly.
Von Norberg.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back after a couple highlights from past shows of West Coast Jazz.
I waited till I saw the sun. I don't know why I didn't come. I left you by the house of fun. I don't know why I didn't come. I don't know why I didn't come. When I saw the break of day, I wish that I could fly away. Instead of kneeling in the sand, catching teardrops in my hands. My heart is drenched in wine, but you'll be on my mind forever. Out across the endless sea, I would die in ecstasy, but I'll be a bag of bones driving down the road alone. My heart is drenched in wine, but you'll be on my mind forever. Something has to make you run. I don't know why I didn't come. I feel as empty as a drum. I don't know why I didn't come. I don't know why I didn't come. I don't know why I didn't come.
Okay, that was Nora Jones. Don't know why. And like I said, I'm very happy that a young artist, and I know she's not, like 18 young,
No.
but younger than Diana Washington and Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday, and carrying our music forward. And we're going to feature another young female artist, Diana Krall, next. Do you have anything on her?
Yeah, she's married to actually one of my favorite artists, Elvis Costello.
Oh,
Are you familiar with him?
no.
He sang that song Allison.
Okay.
That was one of my favorite back from the 70s. And she is one of the only jazz singers to have 8 albums debuting at the top of the Billboard Jazz charts.
Wow.
Yeah, 8.
8 LPs?
Yep, to
Well, I guess
debut at
she's-
the top of the jazz
I
chart.
think she's earned her stripes to be on our show.
Definitely. She's won 3 Grammys, 8 Juno Awards, and she has earned 9 gold, 3 platinum, and 7 multi-platinum albums. So she's way up there.
Okay,
Yeah,
and I think
definitely.
this song she's going to do, The Look of Love, everybody has heard this in one genre or another.
Right. And this is Diana Krall with The Look of Love on West Coast Jazz.
Is in your eyes a look your smile can't disguise? The look of love, it's saying so much more than just words could ever say. And what my heart has heard, well, it takes my breath away. I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, you've got the look of love. It's on your face, a look that time can erase. Be mine tonight. Let this be just the start of so many nights like this. Let's take a lover's vow and then seal it with a kiss. I can't hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, don't ever go. Don't ever go. I love you so. standing by. Don't you
I'm sorry I don't speak your language. Good. Caxamica? Huh? Good. Look at me. I'm as helpless as a kitten up a tree. Feel like I'm clinging to a cloud I can't understand. I get misty just holding your hand. Walk my way. And 1,000 violins begin to play. Might be the sound of your hello, that music I hear. I get misty the moment you're near. You can see that you are leading me on, and it's just what I want you to do. Don't you notice how hopelessly I'm lost? That's who I'm following you on my own. Would I wander through this wonderland alone? Never knowing my right foot from my left, my hat from my glove. that you're leading me on. And it's just what I want you to do. Don't you notice how hopelessly I'm lost? That's who I'm following you on my own. Would I wander through this wonderland alone, never knowing my right foot from my left, my hat from my glove? I'm too misty and too much in love. We get too misty and too much in
Enjoyed some of those highlights of West Coast Jazz, produced by Cher Dial and Vaughn Norberg, our special guests here on West Coast Jazz. Well, welcome back. And
Thank you. God, you're so fun having us. And I'm used to interviewing people. I'm not used to getting interviewed.
Well,
so it's a whole different game for me.
Turn the table on you a little
You
bit.
did.
There you go.
But
Okay,
it's
well,
fun.
we got a few more minutes here, and then we'll wrap up with some more great jazz music. Vaughn, let's hit just maybe one or two more stories here about the early days. You know, once again, we just barely touched on it. Where it was kind of rough in those early '50s and '60s. I mean, there was a lot of drinking, and then a little marijuana, then I suppose cocaine, maybe.
Yeah, all of that came into play. I'll tell you one story. One of Cher's favorite stories that I've told was I was in college, going to Los Angeles City College, and I was buying some books, and I met this young lady. It was a really funny story. She came walking by me and smiled, and you know us, man. I mean,
You melted right then.
I melted, and I shifted, and I turned off all the lights in the store. And security came up and grabbed me, and I thought they were grabbing me to, like, arrest me, or I didn't know what I did wrong, and they just moved me so they could turn the lights back on. Well, anyway, then this young lady started laughing at me because she saw how embarrassed I was, and I got up the courage, and I said, well, maybe sometime you'd like to go out for coffee or go out on a date. And I was thinking, after I embarrassed myself so much, she wouldn't want anything to do with me. Well, she said, certainly. And I went, okay,
Yeah, really.
I just made it past first base. And so we went out to downtown Hollywood in a club called Shelley's Manhole. And the owner is Shelley Mann, the drummer, if you've never heard of him. And Milt Jackson, my favorite xylophonist, was playing with Oscar Peterson. And we went down, and you actually, like in Cheers, you go down these steps, and then there's a steel door, and there was a bouncer, about a 300-pound African-American, standing there. And he says, what can I do for you kids? And I said, we're here to watch the Milt Jackson show. He said, are you 21? No.
Not quite.
Well, then you can't come in. And right at that time, the door opened, and out walks Milt Jackson. True story. Big, tall guy. and he was getting having a cigarette break, like I said, and he had a cocktail in one hand. So, like I said, it'd be old drinking, smoking days.
Always.
And he comes out and he turns to the bellman and says, "What are these guys doing here?" "Oh, sir, they want to see your show." "Well, they're not 21. "Well, this here's my cousin." And I looked up and it quickly dawned on me that he was going to try to get me in the show. So I went along with his deal. I'm not his cousin. I'm not any relationship to him. My girlfriend was impressed at that point.
Nice.
And he says to the bellman, "Put him in the back row, give him a Shirley Temple,
Right.
and they're going to see my show. If they came all the way downtown to see my show, by God, they're going to see my show."
All right.
And we got in, and at intermission, he came over and sat with us for a good half hour and talked to us and asked me about what I got into jazz and all of that. So then Cher asked me after the story, go ahead.
Did you ever see the girl again?
No.
No.
It turned out she didn't like jazz at all.
Oh, no.
She didn't know how lucky she was.
I
to be
know,
in-
my God. And Milt Jackson, I mean, if you have him in person, you
Well,
know?
maybe I didn't know how lucky I was.
Yeah, right.
Because what if I would have stuck with her,
Yeah.
for love, as opposed to what's 20 years later going to be when I'm still playing my jazz shows.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah. A great
so-
story.
Yeah, and so that was one of the greats that I met. I met Horace Silver in Hollywood. There's another club called Dante's of Hollywood, and I met so many musicians who came over. They came over after the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Oh, wow.
If you've ever remember going back and watching those shows, he had a jazz band that would kick. Can I say butt?
Yeah, I think you can.
Okay. And famous musicians,
Right.
and they would just go over after the show and jam.
Oh,
And
Doc Severson.
Doc Severinsen, who was head of the band for many years, and other people that would come in and come out, and I can't remember them all. One of the who was the I can't remember his name right now. I think it was Artie Shep. But I would get autographs. I was still in college, and my dad, who knew all these musicians, would call in and get us a special seat right next to the stage. And they would come by and autograph, the reserve sign. In fact, we have those posted on the website, do we not?
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
So Art Pepper and who was the Steve that had the Tonight Show before Johnny?
Steve Allen.
Steve Allen.
Right.
I've got his autograph. I've got,
Okay.
just you name them. If they were out on the West Coast and they stopped by, I got to meet them, talk to them, learn from them, and they inspired me, and they still do to this date.
Yeah, they're jazz legends. And like I said, when you think back to the opportunity that you had to meet all those people and be around them and everything, I mean, it's just invaluable.
On break, we were talking a little bit about the LPs, long plays for those
Yeah.
younger people,
The vinyl.
the vinyls.
Yeah.
And they have skyrocketed off the moon.
Yeah.
I remember, and my son went by, I think it was Electric Fetus, downtown Minneapolis, and picked up I think he said it was a John Coltrane LP, one of his early years, that used to get for $4.99.
Wow.
Well, it was $1,200
Whoa.
It's crazy.
for the same LP.
Really?
Yeah. And, as long as it's not scratched up or whatever. And now the turntables
Yeah.
are popping up all over. And I'm just having a heyday. Remember how sad I was when jazz was leaving America, and now all of a sudden the vinyls and the turntables are coming back. I'm ecstatic.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if you people are out there going to garage sales and estate
stores,
sales, all that stuff, check out those. Even rock and roll. I mean, if you get into vintage Beatles or something.
Elvis Presley.
Elvis
Yeah,
Presley.
really.
Anything that's in great shape, it's going to be worth some money. I mean, it depends on the artist, of course, and the condition of the LP.
The hard part, I know some college kids through my son, and they went, "Oh, this is great," and then they graduate college and they say, "Oh, I don't want to sell it."
Oh, yeah.
You know, they want to keep it and pass it on. You know, like I have over 300 LPs that I'm giving to my son, and who's now a jazz artist. This is kind of a strange bedfellow, to use that old term. So Cher's was heavily into country western,
Right.
and now she's transitioned, not 100%, but appreciatively
Oh, appreciate it, yeah.
into
Yeah.
jazz. Well, my son grew up with AC/DC and Metallica
Oh,
and,
yeah, right.
and the hard rock,
Heavy metal.
heavy metal. And I said, well, what about jazz? You know, come on, give me a break. And now he's a big Coltrane fan. And
Well, you recognize the talent and
Yes.
the artistry of it all.
And he's a musician, so
Oh, yeah,
he
right.
plays guitar and trombone, and he appreciates when he hears somebody play those instruments what it takes to be great.
Yeah.
And
right.
to again our listening audience, if you're not a player and you're not a singer, be an admirer of the effort that it takes to become very good in whatever you do.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Cher, let's we're almost out of time here. Let's wrap up with a final story or two from you. A little more, a little background, a little country western. Okay, we touched a little bit about it. Maybe some final thoughts on how you got involved with jazz and where you see this show going.
Yeah, well, I see the show going, like Vaughn said, to just, captivate a new generation, new audience. And I think that's so exciting. And like I said, working at KBEM, I mean, there are a lot of listeners on that station. I mean, it is a very popular station here in Minneapolis. And it just excites me to not only be on the show and learn from Vaughn, all the things that I've learned, but just that the up-and-coming people are getting into it. That really
Right,
is
right.
exciting.
I
Yeah.
think you mentioned that they've asked you now to consider doing a 1-hour jazz show yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that would be huge
Yeah, that would be really nice.
to reach
So,
that audience.
Yeah.
But
different.
call me if you need help on the artist.
I will. Oh,
And
God,
I-
like
It
really-
all overlaps. It
Yeah.
all overlaps.
Yeah.
And I'll teach you how to say Hugh Masekela.
Yeah, Hugh Masekela, I know. And it's funny because I'll be driving and I listen to like the Frank Sinatra station, and 40s Junction is what I listen to in the car all day. And I'll take pictures of the artists that we played, and
Okay.
I'm like, and I send them to you once in a while, and I'm like, oh wait, they're playing Vaughn Monroe or they're playing Hugh Masekela, So like I said, you've enlightened me to so many artists that I was not familiar with, and I'm thankful for you for that,
Great. Okay, some
Definitely.
final words from Vaughn Norberg.
Okay, final words. Well, first of all, make sure you come to our website. Again, that's,
Oh, jazzwithvaughn.com.
and that, by the way, in addition to our shows, that is worldwide. I
Yes.
don't think I mentioned that. So if my 15-year-old grandson, who came on as a researcher,
Yeah, he was.
and he was sitting right where you are now. And I said, now don't get nervous. This show is going out worldwide.
Right.
Nice.
And,
Yeah.
he still to this day shakes when he thinks about that he was on the air,
Yeah.
on the website, and getting that exposure. And now he wants to be an MC.
That's nice.
And he's only 15.
Uh-huh.
So he's already going down that road. And like I
Exactly.
said, you don't need to don't need to play an instrument or sing. Just get involved. And like you said, Richard, come on down here to CCX, and they'll teach you everything you need to know.
Absolutely. And this is a joint production of CCX Create and Southwest Community TV. And they have a working relationship with BCAT out of Bloomington. So I also use the Bloomington studio. So if you live in the southern suburbs, You can contact me at BCAT in Bloomington, or if you're in the northern suburbs, come on down here to CCX. Their home base is in Brooklyn Park. Check us out. And like I said, if you have an idea, come on down here, get involved with us, and I'll help you get your idea on the air. That's what community cable access television is all about. And I want to thank the volunteers that help us down here get this show on the
Definitely.
air, and the staff of CCX.
Yes.
A lot of great people. And that's what it's all about. We're all family right down here.
We are. We are.
Okay, well, let's go out with another little montage of some past highlights we've had. And once again, I want to thank the founders of West Coast Jazz, Cher Dial and Vaughn Norberg.
Thank
Thanks again
you.
for coming.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it's always so nice working with you, and we appreciate all your help and knowledge.
That's
and
great honor.
It's
Like I
just
said, I'm
always
learning
so
a
nice.
lot. Learning a lot about country, western, and
Yeah.
jazz
Definitely.
music. I'm more of a rock and roller, but hey, it all overlaps.
Oh, me too.
It does. Music is music is music.
And we're all having fun down here. So come on down, be part of the fun. This is West Coast Jazz. Good night.
Bye. You know I hate to leave you, baby, but I'm leaving anyway. So long. You knew I'd have to leave you, baby, when you treated me this way. Don't cry. And if it's written for us, baby, maybe some old rainy day I'm gone. Perhaps you'll understand the reasons why you're driving me away. Farewell. Then maybe we can be together in the same old crazy way. Take care. So long. Goodbye, my darling. I know I was wrong when I thought that you could return the same love that I have, all for you, dear. But you still didn't care enough to ever try to love me. Why didn't you love me? Why didn't you ever love me?